Hi, my name is Melanie Rebello. I'll be going over evaluating conformation with you today for my presentation. I'm finally getting around to doing it on the last day, so here you go. Hopefully you can hear me. It is a little windy outside, and we'll just get started right into it. So, my name, you already know it. I have been in 4-H for 9 years. This is my third year in the Equus Echoes 4-H club, and unfortunately my last year in 4-H. I am 19 years old. The overview is: what is conformation? Why is conformation important? And everything conformation, evaluating conformation, what does that mean? So the main points to look for in conformation. So what is conformation? Conformation is the structure of the horse. So basically what we're looking for when we're buying a horse. You want to know conformation to see what faults they could have in the future. Like, let's say a horse is toed out. That could cause problems in the future, and you want to be able to expect what you need to care for that horse. No horse has perfect conformation. Keep that in mind. If it did, it's probably like a $20 million horse, and I don't think many of us could afford that. So you'll have a horse that has some conformation faults, and that's okay. You just want to pick and choose what faults you want to take care of for their life span or however long you have them. Why we evaluate conformation, I just went over that, and we're going to go over what are the main points to look for in conformation. So we're going to get started on what the head should look like. You want to have a nice sharp jaw. This horse has its lip dangling down. It's a really cute horse, but it's not ideal for what they would look for in a conformation class. This horse has a nice sharp jawline. I'm assuming he would be a gelding. He has more of a masculine features. Sharp nose top. This one does not have that, so we would consider that a Roman nose. His nose kind of juts out. His neck ties in nicely, and his poll, he's just an overall good looking horse on that left side. Over here we're going to have the front view. So this horse has a very long face, and his eyes are close together for the length of his face. That would not be ideal. This horse, on the other hand, has a wider set eyes and a shorter face, which would be what we're looking for. So both of the left horses. The third system for balance. So we use this in horse judging. My way of using the thirds would be, I always have a pencil for judging. I'd split my pencil in thirds, and I'd look at the horse and be like, okay, does he line up to the thirds I made in my pencil? If the horse doesn't, usually you'll pick out what third is the worst. Some horses tend to be longer in their back, but you want from the poll to the withers to be a third, the withers to the croup area, loin. Oh my goodness, I forget what part that is. But you want from there to there to be same section, and then from that to their end of their bum to be the same as well. You do have to consider in some mares their backs will be longer. That is kind of sometimes desirable in certain breeds so that they can carry foals better. Like this horse, he's got a pretty good third system, I'd say, and he's got a nice slope to his face, good legs, you can just tell. This should be a little farther forward, kind of right by their heart girth, so you can kind of see the third system a tiny bit better. We have the importance of angles. Angles, I would say, are the biggest factor in looking at horses' conformation and evaluating it. Almost everything should be at a 45-degree angle or in a straight line. So this would be a 45-degree angle from their withers to the chest. The length of that line from the withers to the chest is the length of the stride your horse is going to have. So let's say you grab your horse, you put your hand here and here, and you lay it on the ground. That is going to be the length your horse's stride is, which is a fun little fact. So let's say they have a really steep shoulder, like this horse kind of does. That horse is going to have a really bouncy, short stride, unlike the long stride that this one would have right here. This horse ties in nicely with its shoulder and neck being straight line. His back, we're going to get to that factor on the next slide, but his hip, point of hip down is just a nice angle. Okay, we're going to move on to pasterns. So this would be our ideal pastern, a nice 45-degree angle from here to here. This horse would be kind of coon-footed. His pasterns are way too angled. As they get older, it just tends to get more and more angled, and it just looks like their foot's kind of flopping there. I've seen a few cases like that. And then this horse has a very, no pastern angle. He's got stilts for legs. So that would not be ideal. These two can cause quite a few problems in the future, especially the short straight pasterns. That's going to be a lot of shock absorption that isn't there, and the horse could lead to several leg problems in the future. As far as top line goes, you want their bottom line to be longer than their top. Just looks more proportionate for this horse. See how he has the longer bottom and the shorter top line. This one is almost the exact same. As far as swaybacks goes, that is not a desired conformation fault. You will see it a lot in older horses. It's just their top line is weak on muscles, and sometimes it can be very difficult to build top line on older horses. If a younger horse is swayed that bad, that would be definitely something to consider if you want to get into that. Sometimes with horses with swaybacks, you have to put cushions under the saddle to make it more level, and you can't ride them or put heavier people on them if they have a not as a strong top line as this one down here would. But just kind of figure you want their withers and their bum to be kind of the same height, just straight across. Younger horses will have higher hind ends due to growing and stuff like that, but usually they even out at a certain age, which is, I'd say, around 5s when they're pretty even out looking. Next, we're going to move on to some legs. So this is your ideal leg position. You want to be able to draw a line straight down here, through here, and there. So on this horse, you can tell that their pastern and ankle area is just a little more underneath, and their hock is still in line, but this is not. So that's is standing under. It's kind of like your horse would look like he's just sitting back on himself, which isn't ideal looking. Camped out would be like they're just splayed out. You can just tell this is past that line that you can imaginary draw in your head. Once again, you can use your pencil, look at the horse's hind end and line that up. Hey, buddy. And then legs too straight. So this horse does not have a 45 at that point, and this one, like it, wow, I just messed that up, I'm sorry. So this horse has a 45. This one does not. His legs are way too straight. Once again, that would be less shock absorption and would not be ideal. We're going to go to the back view. So ideal position, you want to run that straight line through their legs as you're looking at them. You can use your pencil once again. This horse would be standing wide, so he's going to look like this, just way out. You can tell by his point of the hock is kind of like not in line anymore. You can really tell. And standing closer, both standing wide and close can deviate a horse's gait depending on if their toes flick in or flick out. It's just really, you'll have to see. Bow-legged, your horse, instead of having straight legs like this, their legs are going to look like that. And you really don't want that in a horse. Their legs kind of just bend out as they walk, and it's not ideal looking or ideal for conformation, which would cause problems in the future. Cow-hocked, I have a cow-hocked horse. It's just when their hocks are kind of clipped in closer to each other. I've tended to notice that on my horse, her feet are shorter on the inside, like they wear quicker because she walks like on the inside like that with her hind legs. So that would be something to consider. I have to put shoes on her to avoid the inside of her feet wearing down that much. Now we're going to move on to the front legs. So we're going to run that straight line down again. You can tell where it is. And as you start looking at pictures like these more, you're just going to start imagining that line in every horse that you'd see. So we have that ideal position, the 45 pastern, the nice straight line through. So this horse would be camped under. He'd look like he was standing like this. You can just tell because their knee doesn't line up, and it's just the front of their toe that's hitting that line that you have in your mind. And this would be like the point of shoulder that you'd want to look at for where you start your line. Camped out, once again, kind of like the back legs. Your horse is just going to be out. You can just tell because it hits the back of the pastern. Knee sprung is when your horse, let's say it has a straight leg, it's standing like this, and its legs are going to be bent out like that. It usually is seen in older horses. I haven't seen it in young ones, but that's something to consider. And calf kneed is when their legs just kind of like back from their line. Like it's not at an angle, it's just like bent back. So not ideal once again. Here's the front view. So ideal position, just the same as the hind legs, run it straight down the middle. This horse would have toes out, so instead of his legs being straight like this, it'd be like this. that can cause problems, might need shoes in the future. Bow-legged, same concept as the hind legs, just the legs are bowed out. And narrow-chested horse with toes out, this will deviate their gait slightly as well as base narrow. So I'll show you that picture soon. And then knock-kneed, instead of like their whole leg being at a certain spot, the knock-kneed would be just the knees bent in. So it's kind of like that in a sense. And then pigeon-toed, they're walking around, their toes are in like this. Once again, that would be something to consider shoes for, to help with, or corrective shoeing, because it's really not ideal. And you want to build muscle on horses that have conformation faults if they're young, to try and get rid of that as soon as possible. Here is the tracking that I was talking about. So your ideal horse, you could see they're just walking in a straight line. Toes in horses, they're gonna dish in. So as they're walking, their foot's like going like this, in. And that can sometimes knock on their other foot and cause injuries. Horses that have pigeon-toed, it looks like they're paddling. So as they're walking, their legs are going like this. And it's like, it's not ideal. Kind of configure that. And then base narrow horses, it's kind of like they walk like across. They have to almost miss their other leg to get around. So you'll see it. If you see a horse with any of those conformation faults, watch how they walk and you can notice it. So this would be our ideal looking horse. I'm gonna stand right here so I can see it and go over it with you. So he's gonna have that nice straight top of the like face, no Roman nose. His jaw is gonna come in and tie in nicely. He has a slimmer throat latch. His neck, I didn't talk about this, but you want a horse's neck to tie in high up on their chest. Some horses tie in low, and it gives them a really beefy neck profile. So you want it tied in high, the neck to be slightly longer than the bottom of the neck. He's really got a proportionate top line. His shoulder is at a pretty good angle. I'd say it's just a tiny bit steep, but it's not terrible. He's got straight legs, great pastern angle. I'd say that's a 45. His bottom half, you can tell, is lower, like longer, and his top half is shorter. He's got a great looking profile there. His hind end comes down nicely. It's not at a sharp angle. We don't want a goose-rumped horse, but we want a horse that has that nice slope angle like we saw in the diagram before. And then as far as hocks coming down into their legs, it just looks like a nice 45, great pasterns. So that would be our ideal looking horse. Heart girth is nice and thick. Some horses will have something we call a wasp waist. So it's when their waist is like sucked up like that, right into their like area, and that's just not ideal looking. He's got a good third system, so maybe here, here, and there. So he ties in really nice. That would be an ideal horse to buy. And you got to keep in mind,